Hey guys, so this is the new Shenron update tutorial that we've been wanting to release for some time. I've been tirelessly working on this update to get it to my standards, and I believe I'm pretty close to there, but close enough for you guys to actually get to use it now. So there's also a PDF document that you guys can run through and look at the different examples that I showed. This is going to be more of just functionality of how each uh, component works in the system. So I already have the Shenron set up over here. If you go to your settings, you can see all the different styles for colors. You guys can edit those if you want, but I will explain to why they are colored this way. So if we go to input, a lot of this will look familiar. I tried to keep things uh, as close as possible to the last one, but there's been some dynamic changes. So the first one, obviously, is we have a check list where you don't necessarily have to turn all at once on. You can turn whatever you want on. If you wanted just the line, you could turn just the line on. So given that flexibility for you guys. Obviously, if some of you are using other indicators or using the omni bands, there can be a lot of clutter going on. So the system itself works through the Shenron, through the component. So it all needs to be here for it to work. But I have allowed for you guys to turn things off and on now. So as you can see here, this turns the line on. If you want to turn the body of the Shenron on, just give it a second, it'll pop on. Okay, and you can see there's been some changes to this as well. Now, obviously, I might be uh, messing with this some more, even after this tutorial, but just know that this is pretty much set in stone where I'm looking at. Uh, so I'm happy with it. So then we're going to turn the mid channels on. So this should all look pretty familiar for now. The line definitely did get some upgrades though. So you can see that this is all fully on now. If we want to turn the theme on, this is just going to change the colors of the midlines. Just waiting for it to load. Okay. So there you go. So everything's loaded. You can change your bars if you want. I'm actually just going to turn my bars off. Okay. So those are the first things that you can turn on. So if we zoom in a little bit to this particular time frame, we're going to go to down to style and all the way down to the bottom. You're going to see labels and lines. Now, this is another key update that you guys that are using the Shenron don't have at the moment, which will all be explained in the PDF file. So if you turn this on, there's your little label flag, and then you turn it off and you turn this on. This is a grid. Now I'm actually going to zoom in so you can see what the, not grid, the wedges look like. And if we really want to get an idea, let's just turn the rest of everything else off. And see, this is a nice thing is you can turn whatever you want on and off. You don't have to worry about having a lot of things clutter on your chart. Okay, so you can see that it's rendered these wedges. Again, this is all explained into the PDF exactly what the wedges do. But for this scenario, you can see that there was massive sell orders that were in this range right here that were not allowing the price to go up, and you can see this was acting as resistance. And this was the probably the culprit right here that was not allowing the price to go up. But then when it finally did, it rendered a new wedge, and now we're trying to build an actual base to go higher. You can use this on a smaller time frame. It loads pretty quick usually. And you can see that these are actually going to change the structure of the wedges depending on just the order data that's coming through. So do not be alarmed when this changes. That's completely normal. It's supposed to be doing that. Okay, and you can even go to a higher time frame and you can still see the wedges like so, and this kind of gives an idea of like where the massive sells were and the massive buys. So you can see this was a strong support through here, and then it came through up through here, and then this was the actual the sell. So anytime you see reversed wedges or that are hanging on the bottom, and again, this is explained in the PDF, this is a bullish signal. Anytime you see your wedges on the top like this is a bearish signal. So you definitely want to, if you're playing as a bull, you want to see wedges like this. If you're playing as a bull, you don't want to see wedge up top. Okay, and if you're playing as a bear, it's vice versa. So again, this is a pretty cool feature. Obviously, it it does take up a lot of space on a chart. Now I am using my laptop right now. I'm not on my main computer, but you can definitely see how it gives you quite a bit of information, and it's actually helpful if even if you're going into a scalping situation or a scalping scenario, which we're kind of seeing right now, is you can see that the price is trying to get above this particular line right here. You can see that's 35,821. So we could even just mark a line like so, and then we can add another line right here. And that's pretty simple of a scalping process. If we were to buy here, this would be our stop loss. And then we would just wait for another wedge to render or go to a different time frame to see if we can find any more data on some more bars that it's calculated that we didn't see before. So you can see the wedges, they change in size because the orders aren't as big. And again, there's a lot of correlation right here with this particular set point. So this is what I'd be watching in a scalp situation. And again, you can go to a lower time frame. If you don't have the 15 seconds, the 1 minute works pretty good with the wedges actually. So in a scalping scenario, if we bought right here, I'm sorry, if we're buying right here, this would be our stop loss. So it's a good way to not get stuck in trades if the reversal is happening at that time. Okay, so that's a pretty cool update. Again, this will be explained. I'm going to repeat myself over and over with the PDF. I highly advise you guys to read the PDF. That way we don't get a million questions in the chat. So we can turn that off. Now, the label part is something I'm still working on. It's not 100% done yet, but like I said, it is done enough for you guys to actually use the update. It is at that point. So if we were to mouse over this, or you could use your finger on your phone or whatever, and hover over this, you can see that there is a percentage. It's a little hard to see. Again, I'm going to probably update that, but the 1%. And if we just keep the over here, you can see we have green, lime, blue, gray, yellow, orange, red, and dark red. So the lower that it goes, the higher probability for the price to go up. The higher it goes, the higher probability the price goes down. So if you see green on your chart anywhere in your trade, that's a very high probability it's going to drop. Even the blue is a little risky. Now there's going to be gray points, as you can see even through here. See, we're at negative 1%. Now the reason why I have these percentages down here is if you get down to negative 3%, that means that the lines are going to change color to yellow. You can even just turn your bars on and it's going to act the same way. So this should all be gray right now once it pops on. So everything's gray. right? And I might update that color. I kind of like it just because it, what it's telling me is it's kind of going in a sideways motion, which it has been. So we'd probably want a different percentile to to see a bigger move. So we would want a yellow to render if that was a maybe a possible reversal. Now, if it turns blue, then this is a trend that's going to continue going up. If it gets darker blue, that's when we have a problem. So we see it, we're at 0%. So it's really cool, and something I'm going to actually build into this is if you really wanted to, you could create an alert off these percentages. So you could set your alert, let's see, add an alert to the Shenron and come here, right? Now, obviously I have this, I still have to modify this, but let's just say if you were doing move percentage, actually, is that right? Maybe not. Let me see here. Uh, that might be wrong here. Hold on a second. Let me cancel this. Let me try it one more time. Adding an alert to see if I can get this right. Okay, I might need to tweak it, but basically, eventually it's going to be able for you to set alerts to these percentages. So when it gets down to -3%, it's going to send you an alert saying, "Hey, it's in an oversold zone. You might want to pay attention." Now, if it's in an overbought zone, you can do the same thing. So you can set alerts all the way up to negative 38% or more, or you can go all the way up to 38% or higher. So really, really cool feature, different way of setting your price and getting into entries without actually just looking at the price. So I think that's good. Now this is also accumulating the sum of multiple indexes in the market. So it's not just looking at Bitcoin's volatility per se. It's actually looking at other instruments to kind of get an average of the overallness of that particular instrument if we're overbought or oversold. So you'll see a lot of the same in the stock market if you're looking at this the SPY index and then you're looking at Tesla or you're looking at some of these other uh, equities, you're going to see the confluence of they're probably both in the yellow or they're probably both in the blue. But if you don't, though, that might be a good idea to get into it because maybe that one got pounded down by the market dropping and it dropped a lot more. So it might be a great time to get into that entry. So pretty much uh, the rest of this, besides the line, is all going to kind of go in the same move with the color. So if I turn everything on, and really, I want my users to have that visual indication. So we're just going to pop this on. And again, I'll probably work with these colors so it's a little easier for you guys to see. But you can see it's been in this gray zone. Technically, you could have scalped this, but it's what it's saying is it's in between a higher move, right? So we're just kind of been bouncing in the range. So if we look back here, we were in this overbought, and you can see the color change completely. And if we go even higher, and I believe we can probably might be able to look on this. So this is a different percentage here, right? Because we're still in the blue. But let's go to like a 1 minute. Let's see if I can find it. So we're at 37. Let me see if I can find where it really did change colors, which would have gave you an idea that, okay, so you can see we're in a darker blue right here. So this was already letting you know that this was way overbought. Okay, all the way up top at 40,000. So you can see that it changed colors and it was letting you know that this thing was going to drop. And that's exactly what happened. So do not ignore these signs because these could save you from being stuck in a trade. Even if there's a lot of noise, and there is always a lot of noise on lower time frames, this is a good way to help you out. Now, if you're using the bands, you can also kind of render your bands on top of that and see if it's also making sense. Or maybe it's in a channel and it might go higher. But in this illustration, you can see that it worked out perfectly. So Again, now the reversal here, it necessarily could have got to yellow, but I've since updated it, so that might change a little bit on the colors. But for the most part, it's acting exactly how it's supposed to be acting. You'll notice too, once it goes yellow, there'll be a significant movement. So this is a great new feature for you guys to know when to get out of a trade or know when to get into a trade. Okay. Obviously, I went into more detail with the midlines, so I want you guys to check out some of the charts and stuff on the PDF with that, so I'm not going to get through there. And then last but least, we'll look at the line. So the line has really been heavily updated. It's looking at more global occurrences going on through the Shenron process. I'm saying Shenron, but going through a lot of different math processes that happen in this indicator. And it kind of gives you an idea of where the price structure is going and then the best time to get into it. So most of you are already pretty aware of how the line works. If the line is rendering on top of something previously that was lower or higher, it could be a bearish or bullish move. So in this scenario here, if you were to go back to this previous line, if you look at this bounce right here, this was higher. So there was a chance that it could go up. However, when it rendered again, it fell this previous line over here. So you have to look at these lines, and that will let you indicate if there's another drop coming, and that's exactly what happened. So instead of creating a support, it actually created a resistance because it was lower than the previous line. So this is also explained in the PDF. Now at the bottom here, if we look at this line and we scale back to this line, we can actually put another red line here just so we can get an idea, and you can see that it is lower than that previous line. So this could still be a bearish move. Now that will change, right? Because it did move higher than this previous line. If this renders again over this line, right? So we're going to see this 36K be the actual area that if it's going to go up, this would be the area it's going to go up, right? But if it can't break this, then we know exactly why and what happened. So that's a really cool feature with the line. It definitely is a lot more tuned to price action, even on the higher time frames, and it's very accurate on knowing when the right time to render and not to render, and that's also explained. So you can see a perfect example here of this dark blue was letting you know that this was overbought, and that's why it dropped. So if we go back to the bottom though, and again, this might look different after because of the update, but if we go back to the bottom, we should start seeing some yellow. So there's a little peak of yellow right there. So that was just letting us know that this is no longer an oversold commodity or overbought commodity. Now we can get into the trade. Obviously, you want to have some confluence with the line as well. If you're in a situation where the line is rendering lower than this line here, right? And that still could be bullish or bearish. So this rendered lower than this line, right? But what I was really looking at is was there any lines rendering lower than this line? And there wasn't. That's really important to watch when you guys are in a trade. You guys asked how I'm able to stay in those trades. It's because I'm looking at those previous lines to help me balance out some of the emotional parts in holding a trade overnight or whatnot. So those are things I look for. But you can see the change of the color was completely yellow, and then it really got into the oversold part all the way down to the red. And then you can see there was a much bigger drop, but you can see how the colors did actually perform beautifully. So anytime it's in the red, that's obviously a time to buy. This is where the biggest fear is. You can also render your bands and look at and see if that's going to hold as a support as well. So that is pretty much the gist of this new update. You can see that it catches the wicks or the events that happen very accurately, and then it will render on what the event is telling it to do. So It's actually a machine learning process, so it will get smarter the more data and the more time it has. So that's pretty exciting that this thing will be smarter than its previous mistakes in the past. So if you guys have any questions, you can always hit me up through the PMs or hit one of our staff guys up. I'm sure they can kind of assist you if you need help. But yeah, just be looking out for this new update to release today. And once it's set in stone, all you have to do is just remove the Shenron you're using, refresh your browser, go back and look to see if that Shenron is there, and then click it, and everything should load like you see right here. All right, thank you.